am a 5-star woman. This episode is a Hey Gawjuss episode. Hey Gawjuss is when we take a moment in the I Am a 5-Star Woman podcast and highlight someone that we think is a 5-star woman and is just truly gorgeous. Today we highlight Brittany Mitchell Bell. Now, I met Brittany when she was still a teen, but to watch her blossom into the gorgeous woman that she is today and the 5-star legacy that she keeps going has been something to behold. Brittany, like myself, has been diagnosed with PCOS, and that's polycystic ovarian syndrome. And as you know, in the show notes will be some more information about what exactly that is. Now, I wasn't diagnosed until I was 31, but Brittany was diagnosed much earlier in life. Here she is as she tells her own story like no one else can.
Before I was diagnosed with PCOS, I would never forget. This is crazy because I've actually never really shared this with a lot of people. But I remember being in a doctor's office with my mom, and I was around 18 years old. And my doctor, my OBGYN at the time, never stated that I had PCOS, but they noticed that one of my ovaries was irregular, as she called it. So she said, although you're young, I remember her quote-unquote saying, although you're 18, you're going to have a very hard time having kids. But don't worry, because when that time does come, it's so many fertility treatments you can do. And at the time, I remember just looking like, just like every girl, every woman wants to be able to bear kids. And, like that's just something that you always, think about. And that's something you always, want to do when the time is right and when God, allows. So I remember feeling so crushed. And I remember my mom, really got so emotional, but she never let the tears drop. Like, she never really showed it, which I know she was trying to be strong for me, but I remember me being so emotional about it. And mind you, I was 18, definitely didn't want any kids, but it's just, the fact that hearing that. And when we got out of the office, when we left the office, I remember her grabbing my hand, because if you know my mom was a prayer warrior. That's just her. And we prayed. Right as soon as we walked out of the doctor's office, we prayed. And she was like, at the end of the prayer, I remember she was like, when the time comes, you gonna have kids. I'm not worried about that. I know what the doctor said, but you're going to have kids. So fast forward, my mom had passed. I was 23 years old, and I remember going to a new OBGYN. I was 25 years old when I got diagnosed with PCOS. And I was telling her, I had irregular periods. Nobody ever diagnosed me with PCOS. But she did everything that she needed to do, and she said, this is what we have. So I had to go to an endocrine specialist, which I still go to this day, and different things had, contributed to me finding out more about it. I researched more about it, and she gave me so much information, and she was like, and that's when she told me, she was like, granted, your chances, it is difficult. It does cause a lot of infertility. It causes a lot of, facial hair. It can cause hair loss. It causes weight gain. It's just so many other different things. And I was experiencing all of those signs. The only thing that I didn't experience, as most women, was a lot of the facial hair. I have a little bit, but not like a lot of my friends. I know one of my friends, she don't have the hair loss, but she has a lot of facial hair. So everybody, is affected differently. And I remember feeling not so bad as if I lost all hope, but it just made me feel so incomplete as a woman. It just brought on this a cloud, as if why I have to face this. It's just so much for women already. You already have to deal with a cycle, but then you have to deal with an irregular cycle because of this situation that causes other things. And then people, they say, oh, you don't have to have a cycle. But I'm like, do you realize that your cycle is what helps you go through other stages in life as a woman that your body's supposed to go through? So that's not really, the best synopsis to say, because you don't have a cycle, it's okay. No, I know we don't like to deal with cramps. Who does? But it's good to have them. And now, actually, I've lost 24 pounds And since I've lost the weight, my cycle has become more regular. My PCOS is still there, it's still present, but in the ovary that has always given me the most problems, which is my left ovary, my PCOS has decreased a lot, and that has always been the ovary that my PCOS showed the most. Like, it was always I just always remember her saying, this left ovary always want to give me a problem. But so surprisingly, like 2 months ago when I went in for my checkup, I was doing a lot better. And because I have to go to the doctor every 3 months, because of my mom, ovarian cancer was so strong and how fast it moved, my OBGYN had me come in every 3 months just to do a checkup. Once she did say, like, once I hit a certain age, I don't recall the age yet, then it'll go to 6 months. So now I've been going to the doctor every 3 months for my ultrasound for the past, my mom been passed for 8 years, so for the past 7 years, I go every 3 months to get an ultrasound. And they just check my ovaries, and then she know about my PCOS, she checked that as well. And then once I hit a certain age, I'll be going every 6 months to get the ultrasounds. Life Until was actually founded by myself with the group of some phenomenal women who deal with PCOS, and I ended up incorporating ovarian cancer because my mom passed away from ovarian cancer in 2010, and a lot of women suddenly go through battling with PCOS and ovarian cancer. And so I decided to join both of them together because the color for ovarian cancer I always known to be teal. And it wasn't until like a few years after realizing that I had PCOS, and I found out when I was doing some research that the color for PCOS was teal as well. So I decided on the word it was actually, I believe Cinnamon is the one who gave me lit for Life Until, because those are the initials for Life Until, lit. And it just symbolizes a women, like a group of women connecting, because it is life. You wear Life Until, whether you have PCOS, it's like an everyday lifestyle that you deal with, and you just go through life functioning because that's what you know to do. That's what women know to do. That's where our strength come from, our courage, and how we can fight our fears by just living. So I decided to join that together, and I didn't realize so many people have PCOS. And I always thought that, okay, it was just triggered to, a lot of plus-size women, because it was a lot, at that time, more plus-size women that I knew had PCOS. And then once I started meeting other women, when I decided to talk about it, and then, of course, on Instagram, I started, like, hashtagging, like, checking the hashtags, and there was so many small people, like 120-pound people. And I'm like, where these little people come at with PCOS? Not realizing, like, it's not just one race. It's not based on size. It's not based on height. It's not just based on weight. It's a life. And so that's where Life Until come from. When it comes down to passion, I believe what really keeps me going and keeps me kicking in life is my mom's legacy. Because there was a point of time when, after dinner, my mom and I had, like, the best relationship that a mother and daughter could have, to me, and it's always been us. And being so young, I just felt like we had so much more in store for us. But at the same time, I didn't realize how much I have to carry, as in not being who she was, because my mom would never want me to walk in her shoes, and she always used to tell me that. And she's like, yeah, you have a lot of my ways, you may look a lot like me, but I never want you to walk in the shoes that I walked in. I want you to walk your own path. And that always meant so much, because a lot of times people would characterize us to be like a person, or to be like this, or to be like that. And even though as my mother, she still, I want you to have some of my characteristics. I want you to have some of my traits, but I want you to walk your path. Walk into your destiny. Walk into where God has for you to be and what He wants you to be. And so I'll never forget when people used to say, oh, you're going to be just like your mama, and you're going to be a preacher, and you're going to be this, and you're going to do this, you're going to do that. And I'm like, And in my head, I will always tell my mom saying, no, you're going to walk your path, and you're going to do what you're supposed to do and what God wants you to do. So it's like that passion. I always used to, I used to say my signature on social media and even my text message, like 3 years ago, used to say living her legacy or her legacy. And when I said that, I didn't know the importance of it because I was still dealing with my own issues, as in, you know, having those suicidal thoughts and having those depression and going to a psychiatrist and dealing with, you know, mental illness, because just thinking like, you know, the easy way out was the best way out, and not realizing like the harm that you cause not to yourself but to your family and your loved ones. And it's so hard. It's like you can be in a room full of people and you know that people love you and you know that people care about you, but all you want is that one person and you don't have that person. And it's like, you know, you just think to yourself, okay, like I'm here, but am I really living? And I don't know what was my breaking point. And I knew it was before Adrian, my husband, and I became official, like, because I was broken, but I wasn't, it was before then, but I realized, whenever it was, I realized that I have to live my life. And God did not place me here on this earth for nothing, and especially to take my life. And just even how that came into play and how different things managed to happen, I had to realize, like, how can I really live her legacy if I'm not even living? How can I live a legacy and I'm not enjoying the fruits of my labor? I've always been a giver. I've always been a doer, and it's like, okay, you can't live like that. And then I remember like feeling like my mom would not want me to be in this state of mind, like this depressed and this down and this sad. And I had to like fight. And sometimes you have to fight for your life, like regardless of what situation. Yes, I may be dealing with PCOS and, you know, still dealing with the loss of my mom, and I'll never get over it. But with time, you know, you learn to get through it. But at the same time, like you can't, no matter what you're dealing with or no matter what you're going through, that's a part of your growth in life. And so I feel like what keeps me going is her legacy, the fact that I can help somebody else, and the fact that I can be a listening ear, because I've always had a passion for people. Like, I've always been, like, a genuinely caring person. And, like, I guess I actually I do. I get that from her because she's the same way. But it's just amazing how you can, you know, like, you never know. Like, you can be on your worst day, but then somebody will call you and girl, I need to vent. And then you're inside, I'm like, I need to vent. Like, I don't want to be talking to nobody today, but then by the end of the conversation, they don't encourage you, and you don't encourage them. And it's like, okay, now I have some more strength. Like, now I can move on a little bit more. So you just never know how your life will impact someone else. So I believe that the fact that I can live a legacy that my mom left for me and I can sow into other people's life really, really keeps me pushing and keeps me kicking in life. When it comes to love and life, in 2013, my husband, known as Adrian Cadillac Bell, decided to do this proposal in Gawjuss in front of my grandparents' house in the middle of the road to R. Kelly. And to this day, 5 years later, it is still a topic. We're still going to stores. We were in the store in Home Depot on last Sunday, and this lady walked by 3 times, and I'm like, I had I had a hat on with some gym clothes, looking real like gymish, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she said, keep looking at her. She probably know you, Adrian. He laughed, and she came. She's like, are y'all looking for the proposal? And I was like, yeah, that's us, and you know, we hugged or whatever. So it's just so amazing, just that, you know, how God will use you in a different way to meet people. And, I mean, we have met so many people. We have received so many messages. We also have a YouTube page under Adrian and Brittany, and we have over 10,000 subscribers. Our goal is to always, like, put more, but we just be so busy, but we just have to find the time because people be intrigued. Like, it's like you give people a hope, and it's not false hope, it's real hope, because we're just real people living our everyday life just like regular people. Nothing fancy, nothing planned, nothing put together. It's just us. And I recall going through a time, just like him, we both were very broken. And before my mom passed, my mom was, like, in love with Adrian. Like, they had such an awesome relationship. And the fact that even though she wasn't here for my wedding day, the fact of knowing that she was present, like, in that relationship. And she was like, you know, regardless of what happened, she's the one who told me, like, be friends first. Don't rush into nothing, because she knew that Adrian was dealing with some hurt, and she knew what I had just came out and was dealing with as well. And I was like, you know, we're just going to be friends. And then, of course, you know, you start to get to know each other, and regardless of what transpired, we just was like, okay, if it's meant to be, it's going to be. So clearly, here we are now. So it was meant to be. But I just also, I like to remind young women, young adults, like, don't give up on love. But more than anything, write it down and make it plain. I will never forget, like, I wrote a list. This is what I want. You know, this is what I want. I want this to be like this. And I specifically and strategically wrote down what I wanted. Because sometimes we just settle, and I refuse. I was like, I'm not settling in a marriage. I'm not settling in another relationship, even friendships. Like, I'm not settling. Like, I know my worth. I know what I bring to the table. And if I have to eat alone at the table for a little bit until the right one comes to eat with me, then so be it. But when you're doing what you have to do and living your life, the right person will come along. And that's what I found throughout my marriage and my relationship is I wasn't thinking about a relationship. And it was at that point when God was making both of us whole so that we can love and care for each other in the right way that we needed to, because he needed me just as much as I needed him. I probably needed him even more, because if it wasn't from him, like, I don't know, like, I just feel like God just placed him in my life at the perfect time, because with everything that I was dealing with, he never left my side. And I will never forget this. I never really shared this, so you guys will be the first one to know. But I remember having to go, it was a month before our wedding day. And that's when I was dealing with I had a lot of, like, some stomach issues, and I told my best friend that I was like, dang, you know, my stomach has been bothering me, and I was going to the doctor to get checked. And that's when, you know, the doctor, before she, you know, I had the PCOS at the time and everything, but it was just like my pain was just so bad. And I remember I even left work, I believe, and I went straight to the doctor. And so they did the BRCA test. And the BRCA test is basically like, if it comes back, it's a cancer gene. And the test will come back and it tells you if it's positive, basically they like to either take your, they will usually remove your breast, take your ovaries, and they just try to prevent the cancer from coming to you. So I remember asking, like, well, what's the youngest? And the youngest person was like 18 who had a positive BRCA test. So they were able to freeze her eggs. Well, in my case, what she said was, well, you're getting married, so within a year, if it comes back positive, you need to have kids within a year, in which you're going to have some fertility treatment to push it, because I went, per the doctor, mind you, it's per the doctor. I'm going by what God said, but per the doctor, I would have to take fertility treatment. And she said, well, we could discuss whichever one worked the best. Of course, now, this fertility treatments are always self-paid. They're hardly ever covered by insurance. So now you're talking about money, like money. But I'm like, okay, well, I will have to take fertility treatment. She said, yes, and then we'll have to push you up to having a baby within the year. So in my head, I'm like, you know, just losing it, because I'm at the office by myself, because I didn't want to take nobody, because I didn't really want to alarm anybody, and I really didn't know what was going on, besides I was hurting so bad. So then she said, I said, well, what if it's negative? She said, well, if it's negative in your situation, you're going to probably have to do it again in a few years, because sometimes it don't catch right away. So I said, okay. So she said, I said, well, if I do the test, how long will it be before, you know, you get the results? So she said, well, I can't do it today, but you come back in 2 weeks, I'll get the results. So mind you, this is the month before my wedding. So I remember it was 2 weeks before my wedding. I went to do the test. And she said, well, I'll get the results on this thing. And I was like, well, I'm going to be on my honeymoon. And I remember just crying. leaving the office 2 weeks before my wedding, I was crying, and I told my best friend, I was like, I just don't know if I'm going to have kids, and it was just like, I was so emotional, and I was like, I'm not getting married. I'm just going to tell him we can't do this because I don't want to get married to him, and I can't give him kids. Every man wants kids, and I'm just going to call it off. Like, I'm just going off. I'm like, I'm not doing it. She's like, girl, you going to get married? She went off on me, but I was not, and I was dead serious. Like, I was not about to get married like this. I'm like, I don't want to deal with this. I don't even want to tell him everything because I don't know how he's going to act. And I never forget, I called my husband. I was like, we have to talk. So we talked that day. He was like, okay, what's wrong? And I was like, look, I went to the doctor. I was having stomach pains. And one thing, we dealt with the stomach pains, and then she seen something else. One thing led to another that it may be an issue with me having kids, and I don't know what's going to happen. And I never told him, mind you, I never told him when I was 18 of what the doctor said. I never shared anything about that with him. And then I'm like, okay, I'm about to get married to him, so I need to let him know what's going on. So I was like, look, I don't know how lucky I am to have children. However, I do know that per the doctor, I'm going to have issues because I have fertility issues. And I will never forget, like, I was boo crying, and he just held me so tight. And he said, Brittany, if you can't have children, that is fine with me. We can always adopt. And I'm sitting here now with tears in my eyes just thinking about it because he was so compassionate. He was so loving and caring. And to this day, he still is the same way. He has never changed, no matter what. And that just meant so much because I don't know too many men who don't want, to have their own one. And he was like, look, if I have to adopt, I'm going to adopt. Like, you're my concern. Like, you're going to be my wife regardless of what the situation is or what the circumstances or the outcome is. We're getting married, and we'll deal with that when we get there. Fast forward, here we are now, just celebrated 4 years of marriage, and I will never forget, it was New Year's night service. My pastor, Apostle Carlos Malone, called me out in the middle of service, and he said to me that you're going to be with child. And it brought such a peace over me because people wasn't realizing, when they're asking, when you having kids? I went through, and we got married in 2014. In 2015, I had a miscarriage. And a lot of people didn't know that as well. And it's like, you go through so much as a woman. And so when people are like, when you have the kids, why you don't have kids yet? Not knowing that it's not you. Like, I'm not doing anything that's wrong. It's just not, it hasn't happened. But this year in January, when he called me out, he said what he said, such a peace came over me. And I tell you, when I say even this year when things may arise, I have not let the whole not having a child issue get into my mind. And if it gets into my mind, it doesn't stay because I'm reminded of the word that he gave my pastor, and I'm reminded of the word that he gave my mother. I'm reminded of the word that he gave us. And when it's time, God will deliver. And then if not, I'm always open to whatever happens, going to happen. But I have a peace about it. And that's something that is so good. Like when you have a peace about a situation, it's like, it's just like a breath of fresh air. Because here it is, I'm wondering, like in the back of my head, yeah, I'm not showing it, but I'm wondering too, like, dang, I'm really gonna have to pay for this $20,000 for this fertility, or this $15,000 for this, and then you don't even know. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. So, like, just like you wondering when I'm having children, I'm wondering, like, I'm going to have to pay this money to help me have kids. So it's like you just never know the different things that women fight through behind the smile, behind this, what you see every day on social media and how you're encouraging somebody else, not knowing that you have to encourage your own self sometimes too, because sometimes you get weary. Sometimes you get, you're like, okay, God, I'm not trying to pray and worry, but I'm a little hesitant. Like, what you doing? Like, let me know you still you with me now, because, you just don't know. But this year, I had such a peace about it.
Gawjuss isn't just a Southern way to pronounce gorgeous. It also has meaning. Gawjuss. Godly, active, wise, just, uplifting, sincere, and soulful. Here's what each of these means to this Hey Gawjuss woman.
To me, being godly is who you are as a person. Being godly represents love. I believe that just our characteristics, how we treat people. Like, you know, is the form of agape love. It not only just being able to give love and, you know, care to people, but being supportive and walking in the word and forgiving and being able to forgive others and as they forgive you as well, but also to just be that person. Sometimes it's just we don't always know and we don't always feel because we don't always have the answers. But if we look beyond what we feel and know, the answers are usually there. And if they're not there, God will send somebody with those answers or somebody to guide you along the way. And I feel like that's the most important part of life. Like, that's where we learn through our experiences. That's where we grow. And, I mean, I feel like when you're growing and going, it's just that's a part of God, just giving you that perfect peace and that rest like no other. And that's just something that money can't buy. Like, you know, people can have all the money in the world and they still dealing with depression or they still dealing with things that money can't buy, like health. You know, like people have all this money, but they still dying from cancer or they still dying from, you know, different sicknesses. So it's just you have to have faith. Like, at the end of the day, your faith, like, can move mountains. And if you don't have enough faith, you have to connect with somebody who do, because in this walk and in this life, a connection is so important. And some connections can either be broken or need to be broken, and some can be connected forever. And that's basically where I'm at, and that's where I've been at for a while, because sometimes we get so attached to people and we get so connected that we forget to realize, like, what's the purpose? Like, do this person bring value? Do this person bring, you know, complete and joy? You know, and when it's amazing that one of my friends actually posted, and she was like, you know, you have to find you that friend that's going to support you. You don't want that friend who always like, oh, I got to tell you about this, but they don't never say, you know, I got you, or, you know, you're doing a good job, I'm proud of you, or let me pray with you, or, you know, I've been praying for you, you know, I got your back, you're not by yourself. Like, sometimes you need that confirmation, and that you're not by yourself. And so sometimes you have to be mindful of who we're connected to, because those connections that need to be disconnected can mess you up, and some connections that you may need that we're not connected to because we're connected to the wrong people, then you mess yourself up. So we have to be mindful of who we're connected to as well. Being active, I believe that being active is being a part. Being active in your family, your church, your community, to me, is being a part, because if your friends are somebody who you claim that you support, if they're having their first show, I mean, you can't go to everything, don't get me wrong, but if you're supportive and you're being active, active means being there. Active means they're going to see your face. If my friend tells me that, oh, I'm having my launching of my party, and I claim that she's my friend, and we posted, and you see pictures, and you see this, and you don't see me there, well, wait a minute, where's this active friend of yours? So it's like you have to be there. With being supportive shouldn't come with the price anyway. You should want to be there. And being active, even with family, we can't get so busy that we forget our loved ones, you know, our spouses, our kids, our grandparents, our parents. Like, you have to be involved. And I believe being active means being involved, showing your face, showing who you are, showing your support, showing your love. And that's one thing I've always been proud to try to be supportive of people, because the same way you want somebody to support you, I feel like you should be supportive to them, because it could be them needing your support today, but it could be you tomorrow needing theirs. Being wise is using wisdom to me. I was always told that you're wise beyond your years, or you've been here before. And I believe that, and of course, being young, you really wise, you know, you never really know. But then as you get older, it's like some situations that it's like you feel like you've been in them before, or it's not that you've grown as, you know, being a child, and you say, oh, that little girl grown. It's not that. It's just you wise beyond your years, because how somebody else your age might handle it, you handle things in a more mature way. And for me, being wise is also equivalent to being mature and handling things in a mature manner or nature. And I feel that we all have some type of wisdom and maturity in us, especially based on how we handle situations and different circumstances that we may be placed in. Because no matter how it goes, nobody is always pleased with the hand they're dealt. But however, you have to learn how to play the hand that you're dealt. Regardless of what cards you may receive, you still have to go to the finish line until you either win the game, or if you lose, you're going to get back in the game, but you have to play those cards no matter how they're dealt, and that's just life. Just is a form of being fair, and I believe in being fair in everything because that's just the right thing to do. You never want to be in a situation where you looked upon. Even as a leader in my job, I always try to make sure that regardless of what, then I'm fair. Even if that person I may be friends with outside of work or outside of the environment that we may be in, right is right and wrong is wrong. And if you're right, then the right thing would be is to do what's right by that person. And not only that, you will want somebody to do right by you. So I believe being just is also being fair, because at the end of the day, when you place into a certain situation, you will always be reminded, because things always come full circle. So regardless of what happens, regardless of what you may do to that person, you never know how it's going to come back to you. It may not come how you did it to them. It can come in a totally different form. So being fair and being just to a person will always speak about your character as well. Being uplifting is a part of being encouraging, uplifting somebody's spirit, because you never know, like telling somebody, oh, you look so pretty, and I've become more accustomed now. I make a very conscious decision. Like if I see somebody and they have something nice, or even if I don't know them, and I just, oh, that's very cute. Oh, I like your bag. Oh, you slayed your face. Or, I love your hair. Anything, because it can be the simplest day to make a person's day. And I'll never forget, I was in the mall with one of my friends, and we saw this girl, and she was so pretty, and she had like this cute little outfit. And I was like, you really wearing that outfit? And she was like, me? And I'm like, yes, you. And she was like, oh my God, thank you. And it just threw her to, like, she was just so surprised when I said that. And I'm like, I told my friend, I'm like, oh my God, it's so sad that we have become so used to people looking at us funny or looking at us sideways that we can barely even take a compliment. So I try to, like, give that compliment, because what does it cost? When you really think about it, what does it cost us to let another woman know that she's beautiful, or to tell another woman that, oh, you're gorgeous, you're amazing, I'm proud of you? Like, what is that? It costs nothing. What it will cost is the fact that that person now will be uplifted. They will feel a better way about themselves. And not only that, they'll be more, they're going to look at you differently, but in a good way. Because although they probably know you were good, or they know you had good intentions, but something so simple as you're beautiful, or you're so pretty, or whatever positive things you say to them can really make a person's day. Because at the end of the day, think about it. We don't really know what people go through, because a lot of times people don't really share and they don't open up for whatever reason it may be. But something so simple can really make someone's day. Being sincere is being genuine. And when I say genuine, like, it's so easy for people to say, like, this is one thing that triggers my blood pressure. Oh, I did such and such for her, and I brought her this, and I brought her that. To me, that's not genuine, and it's not sincere. Being sincere is being genuine, and it's coming from the heart. And when you do stuff from the heart and you're sincere about it, no one knows but you and God. Because at the end of the day, I always say, like, I never want to boast. I never want to tell people. And even sometimes now when some people, they have different things going on, and they say, oh, I really thank you. Even if they put it on public, I'm like, oh, I don't, it's just sometimes you be like, I don't want to be. And it's not that you don't appreciate them acknowledging you or whatever. It's not that, but it's just like, I don't care for all of that, because you know that you did the right thing, and you know that person is appreciative. And when a person, but at the same time, I had to realize that everybody give their accolades different. And two, like they used to say, you want people to smell their flowers while they can. So I understand that as well. But it's just that, some things we have to know how to do stuff without everybody knowing. Just if I do something for you, that's not meant for me to go tell the whole world that, oh, I gave her $1 million. Yeah, I said $1 million because I'm speaking my millions in a distance, because one day I'm going to be able to give millions to people. But when I give that $1 million, that's not for me to say, oh, I gave Cinnamon $1 million. Okay, well, then they're going to be looking like, well, where that $1 million for one? But it's just like, that's just, some things you just don't do, because your reward can be in a totally different form. And people sometimes they put reward and giving back as their money, and it's not. Sometimes it's just your time. Sometimes it's just your ear. Sometimes it's just your heart. Sometimes it's a letter. Sometimes it's words. It's not always money. And when you do things from the heart, people know. It's like when their friends say, oh, thank you for being a genuine friend. Usually 9 times out of 10, that means they done dealt with the friends that wasn't genuine, or sincere, or real. So I don't take it lightly, especially when my friends say, I thank you for being there and being real with me, or being genuine, or having my back, or, being a good friend. Just like I don't take God giving me good friends or somebody who's genuine in my life, because these days it's sometimes hard to tell the difference from the real and the fake. So when you get that genuine person or that genuine friendship, it makes you appreciate those things, especially when you've dealt with the bad. So it's like, I appreciate God for placing the genuine people in my life, or the sincere people in my life. And don't get me wrong, I thank God for the fake as well, because to me, the fake is what allows you to be thankful for the real, in my opinion. Being soulful is expressing feelings and expressing your soul to a person or to a situation and putting your heart into something. Every time I think of the word soulful, I think about like good soulful music, whether it's my gospel music or some old school Aretha or Barry White, Teddy P, like throwback music before y'all time, as our old people used to say. But I think of soulful, I think of something that touches your soul, that makes you feel a certain way, but in a positive way. That there's nothing that can get to you. On anything that's not positive can reach your soul. And sometimes I always try to, like in certain things, you have to sometimes you get things to your soul or through your soul so that you can connect on a different level. I want to thank Cinnamon of Gawjuss for allowing me to participate in this interview, and I would love to do more encounters with women, but more importantly, just stay connected, because we never know how we're going to be of an encouragement to other people. And I thank people such as herself for giving women the platform to be heard, and not only that, to express themselves, because I would have never shared probably some of those things, or it's besides maybe, with my friends or people that I'm more comfortable with, but it's just a different element when somebody pushes you and you know that they mean it in a sincere and genuine way. But not only that, you never know who you're going to connect with that may need to hear those things that you don't even know. You can also follow me on my YouTube page, because my husband and I are going to get more active, where we'll be sharing more about love, life, even women and couples, singles, different things. And that for YouTube, it's Adrian and Brittany, and you can just look that up as well. And I thank you for having me.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the I Am a 5-Star Woman podcast. Remember to leave a rating and or comment, and visit the website at IamA5StarWoman.com.